Hello and welcome back to another edition of Indiepocalypse Radio on this fine release week. The newest one. It's out. 45 of them. That's a lot. I'm cresting. I think the next milestone is I pass the number of something. What's it? 50? That's a lot. But anyway, Indiepocalypse. Indiepocalypse being, of course, the your monthly home for a little bite of the independent alternative side to games and game development. I'm your host, Andrew. Something I did this time after so previously, with the fracturing of a million social media sites, I had all of them pinned in the tab, and I had like Twitter especially pinned in like a never closing browser tab for a very long time. And then I quarantined them all to their own window. And yesterday, as I was closing all my like Instagram, Mailchimp, Patreon windows, and everything, I came to that window with the four social media sites, and I was like, "What if I just close this window?" And I did. And now I just only pull them up when I need to post something. And you know what? It's living life. Life never been happier than not having to pay, than just like deciding I don't need to pay attention to this stuff anymore. Which is maybe bad for business, but good for uh, being a human being. But speaking of human beings, we've got some here with me today. Our first guest, you may know from the previous issue of Indiepocalypse Radio or not Indiepocalypse Radio, Indiepocalypse, the issue that has the games in it, with the Elysian effect. It is T Makes Games. T, how you doing today?
Oh, hi. I'm just doing fine.
Oh, perfect, perfect. You are now freed from being the previously commissioned game. Your game is now freed from Indiepocalypse captivity. um,
Oh, yeah. I will maybe put it out somewhere soon.
okay, cool, cool.
Maybe.
But for people who don't know what, for instance, this game is, what would you say is what's the quick version? What is the Elysian effect? Am I saying it right now? I realize, or am I putting
Yeah,
some?
yeah. Illusion is probably, I mean, I'm not native English, but Illusion Effect is probably how you pronounce it in English.
Okay,
It's a short little puzzle game, and if you're into liminal spaces, it's gonna be totally up your alley. It has like an empty office aesthetic, and you solve a couple puzzles, and there's a little bit of a story theme hidden throughout, but I'm not gonna say too much yet.
no, that's what
Maybe.
the the
Yeah,
the, the game
bit of
you
a
play. They get the game by playing the game. You know.
bit of a mystery, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
you've already got the page up and going. So that's something I've been encouraging people to do more often, both to help the zine maybe, but also save themselves the effort of it's already done, and then you just
Yeah, the itch page is there already.
yeah.
Only
So
links to the zine.
as soon as it's done, you just like slot it right in there. It's like, hey, you get it right on my page. So the people who didn't want to buy it, the zine, are just like, I'll look for this game in a month.
Oh, they're
My
missing out on a bunch of wacky ass indie games.
Yeah, there's. I think they're cool. I'm turning around where I think it's cool again. There was
Yeah,
times where
I'll take my time to like I rarely play games actually, but I do wanna go through them all eventually.
yeah,
So far I've only played like two of them, but they were both really wacky. I don't know. And that's wacky in a good way.
yes no
Just
that's what I like. That my tastes in general I would classify as wacky. And this so I want to make something that is true to kind of the things that I like, and also trying to find a space outside of very kind of traditional, like what you think games are. This is the experimental side of games.
yeah, also allowing those in who do not necessarily call their experiences games, right?
Right, right. That whole broad umbrella of like what is a game, and I definitely like to push the boundaries of what is considered to be a game. There are
So, you know, I once made a game that was actually called What is a Game? Or I don't know if it is a game, but I made a little experience that's called that.
yeah
It's
no
actually a portal map. Um, yeah, if I can just pitch it also just for
Yes, go
fun.
ahead.
I do like games that kind of yeah, experiment with not being games, and this was a case where I tried to copy uh, video essays, right, using video as a format to make a point, to like talk
Yeah.
about a topic. Those are really popular back on YouTube. Maybe those could be popular in the games space. I don't know that many yet, but you can definitely use games as a medium to just talk about a topic and bring a point across.
Yeah, yeah. The benefit of games, including basically every other piece of media inside of
Yeah,
them, is that you can kind of replicate them in some ways, or kind of more interpret them in terms of like what they are, and like a video essay you wouldn't just like, okay, I'm gonna open up a Unity file and slap a screen and play an MP4 on it. Call it a video
no, no.
essay.
Yeah, but interestingly, also
Yeah,
game software can be used to make video essays. Like I think
yeah,
Freya Holma makes those really beautifully animated math explainers and uses Unity for that, I think.
yeah,
But yeah, the other way around is using game engines to make games or not games that I think we're gonna get to Valerie's games in a bit, and
yes,
those games also just uh, aren't traditionally necessarily gamified with mechanics too much. They're a bit exploring games, but also bringing you into a perspective and also just sharing information a bit. Like some of them were just like little informational bits that I really liked. Yeah.
right, right. Because games can be, they can be video essays. They can. It's just kind of another piece of art.
Game essays, yeah. Or there's a lot of games that are kind of like exhibits. I really like that too.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
little museums.
Right, right. In some cases, like literally structured as museums. There was,
Yeah, like we just mentioned the what was it, maze? A maze where you have a
yeah,
museum filled with games and it's itself in a game engine. Yeah.
yeah. I still have it somewhere on my computer. I think it's one lying around, that launcher or whatever. There's one of it's in. Oh, I'm getting better at this. If it's inside of issue number, I know what the cover is. I just don't remember the number is. 18. There's a game called Museum of Memories, and it's like they made like digital representations of like just like objects people have, like important objects to
Yeah.
them, and they have like narration from those people, and it's like you can just make
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, you can make all sorts of just like within this kind of digital space,
Yeah, there
games.
was recently a game coming out. I sadly forgot the name, but it was about hostile architecture. It was like an exhibit of human hostile architecture, also in the form of a game, but it really looked more like an art exhibit.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Those are kind of up my alley.
right, right, because the space um like once it's not too hard if you look at what is conventionally uh, referred to and sold as video games. You don't have to stray too far from that path to start getting much closer to more traditional art in a lot of ways. Where it's
Yeah,
like,
you could even argue, Portal, I think, has a thing where you can walk through the game and have the developers talk about the game, where you have
yeah,
like these little floating notes, and that's almost also like a video essay or like a presentation, but it's inside a video game.
yeah, it's like a fun like I've thought about that also, like what are ways to do like director's commentary within a
Hmm.
game.
It's really cool if it's in game and not just a video documentary or.
Yeah, yeah, because they kind of like, and it's hard because like you need to space it properly. So having those like little nodes that you activate within the game.
Mm. Yeah, Portal has another unconventional thing, which is have you played the Portal 2? Oh, I forgot the name. The like teaser trailer for Super 8.
No.
It's in game. It's like 2 or 3 minutes long, maybe, and it's a trailer for a film. So technically, it's an advertisement in a video game in the form of a game for a film. I think they never did that again. it was probably really expensive, and I don't know if it actually got people to watch the film.
Right.
But really cool little experience. Also,
Oh,
that helped mappers get some realistic models that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So I appreciate that.
yeah, because that's a whole other like um sub like other kind of like it almost it's kind of closer to like a sort of cover space, like as opposed to in the relation to music, but like there's so much
Oh yeah,
modding tools and like map editing that is this whole other side of like what game development is and can be. And
yeah. I mean, I come from that source
yes,
modding
right.
scene, and I have a hard time leaving because Hammer Editor is just such a good tool. Whenever I use modern tools, I'm dreaming about it being as easy as with Hammer, but it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the benefit and the I really think there is like more of these tools should just be open because I like the idea of you know uh, when people talk about engines, the idea that not a singular engine is like the best engine, but there's different engines for different
yeah.
purposes.
Source definitely sucks in many, many ways, but one of the things where it's still better than any modern engine is definitely the level editor. You can really notice it's made by the people who will end up using it, so it's way more comfortable than the newer tools. And Counter Strike 2 just came out, so the level editor for that came out, and whole of Twitter is just kind of bullying the Unreal Engine and Unity, tool developers to, hey, look out how Hammer 2 does it. You should do it this way also.
Yeah, yeah. There's like because it should be that it's like, oh, I know I want to make a first person shooter, so I want a thing that already makes that, and then but I just wanted something to go straight to like level designing.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's good for plenty of things. I mean, Valve also has top-down games, a couple, even if they're not as notable. Like the Dota 2 uses Source 2. I don't know if you ever heard of that Alien game that they made. I actually forgot the name. Like
yeah, I've
Alien
heard.
Swarm. No one played that ever, but the Source community loves it for
Excuse
modern
you.
code.
I played Alien Swarm.
You played it, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I also played it, and it was okay of an experience. You
No,
can tell it's
yeah. As someone who
not their
likes
heart and soul.
twin stick shooters, it's a perfectly fine twin stick shooter.
Yeah, just okay. For context, in the Source community, again, almost no one played that,
Yeah.
but it has all the modern. I think the code for that is more open or more accessible. So modders take a lot of modern code out of Alien Swarm because the Source engine is kind of 2004,
Yeah.
Half-Life 2. So Alien Swarm is a lot more modern, and they like steal code from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Shout out to MapBase for making modding a pleasant experience nowadays.
that came out in like 2010.
Yeah, it's way more modern than 2004, at least. But yeah, it was still
Yeah. Yeah. That is. Aliens. I haven't thought of
antique at
aliens.
this point. Yeah.
Yeah, and they even advertise. They know what they're doing. They advertise a complete code base available for free on like the
Hmm.
right on the store page, right on the part of its description. It has co-op and code. So
Yeah,
they,
probably more people played games with Alien Swarm code than people play Alien Swarm, is my
right,
guess.
yeah, and
But yeah,
that's like I think a lot of things should get like lift. People should like lift stuff constantly from other games and other and like I think there should be more kind of like just tools that are just available.
yeah. Here's hoping that Godot develops into some direction where
Yeah,
it's
because
where it's a valid alternative.
right, especially if you want to like put things out on. It seems sketchy if you want to put things out on consoles.
Yeah, but that's not Godot's fault. That's like the
Yeah,
fault of the
having a
consoles
closed
for not
console
allowing.
system, which is still
Yeah,
very strange that we have those.
yeah. I think Enrique's game is a Godot game, so maybe you can shed a bit about Godot because I don't actually know that much about it.
Yeah,
But
I I've
I like that it's happening.
I've been dipping into it because I switched over from Game Maker because I was like I want to make 3D occasionally. I think Godot does it better.
Mm,
So
yeah, I don't know, probably better than Game Maker, but I kind of assume that Godot is as good with 3D as Unreal is with 2D, which is to say it technically works, but it's not
Yeah.
the first choice you should get, you know?
Right. Right. And that is that way that's good enough for me. Better.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. That
good
is
luck
all.
with that either way.
Yeah. That is
I
awesome.
just I just switched engines. I wish I could stay with Unreal, but my next project is probably gonna be Unity for external reasons.
Right. Right. That's it's such a weird thing about those Well, speaking of this is speaking of game development in general. We have a question here. Let me refresh it real quick.
Oh,
Um,
on your
from
questions form.
from Daniel Savage, and it is, what's the easiest and hardest part of making your game?
Oh, okay. So in my case, the game is technically a remake, or not remake, like half remake, half new game.
Yeah,
Um, and in the retrospect, one of the most fun parts, it was challenging, but one of the most fun parts was implementing the puzzle mechanics. Because I really like making stuff with blueprints. Blueprints is very rewarding when something works. That was a lot of fun. The least fun part is definitely the UI. I hate I hate dealing with UI and setting menus and applying settings and everything changes and
right.
ugh. And also, I'm trying to do controller support right now, and you would think it would be easy to make the UI work with controller, but no, I kind of have to rebuild it up from scratch.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's one of the nice things so far as I can tell from my limited experience about Godot is that it has like a button mapper just built into it. So if you have a menu where the down arrow goes down, you just say
Hmm.
also D-pad down goes down, and
Yeah.
it just does it.
I mean, I do have to get into it. If you know what you're doing, maybe it's easy in Unreal too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But
It's all. I'm not a programmer. I'm someone who uh, is utilizes engines
it
when I
has to
can.
touch code once in a while, but not avoiding at most costs.
You're right. I'm like the project I'm making for like the upcoming kind of like Iron Circus collab next year. I'm just like when the person I'm working with described him like that just sounds like an adventure game, so I'm just gonna use an adventure game studio. I'm not even gonna bother trying to figure this out in
Hmm.
Godot. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
use the engine that does 90% of the work for me.
Yeah, that's always good. Like Source gives you everything you need for your first person and like walking, using and shooting and doors and having to make all of that from scratch was an experience,
Yes,
definitely.
no. uh,
I mean,
it,
Unreal still gives you a whole like a bunch of things, but not
yeah,
as it's still more you have to work more with
right.
very small elemental pieces.
It gives
It's
you
more
different
challenging,
things.
but also gives you more control. In my case, I still try to make the feeling to like make it feel like Source Engine
Yeah,
because
that
that's
the
like
specific. It has like a weird, like I don't know how to describe it. A specific feel to like even pushing a button it has a very specific vibe
yeah.
to
I
it.
could have even I don't know if it's allowed. I didn't want to go into it, but I would have totally ripped the audio from Source to make like the use even that little dot dot when you press something and
Yeah,
there's nothing. That would have I mean, Source sounds is honestly the last thing that I couldn't change a lot in Source Engine. So whenever I tried making a Source Engine level and make it feel not like Source Engine, I would change the like textures, the models, maybe even the player scale and how fast you walk. But the last thing I didn't get to change is the use sound and the crosshair and the walking sounds and whatever. Some people manage to change that, but that is always what people will instantly recognize. Oh, this is Source Engine.
you're right, right. And I think there's a charm to that. A charm to like
Mm.
recognizing like the tools that you're working with.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing if people recognize its source. Usually, the source community has a love-hate relationship, but mainly a love relationship with source, where they're kind of, oh, we want to see more stuff that people make in this engine specifically, rather than I want to see more games like this. They're like, I want to see more source maps.
Yeah, right, right. You want to like because that it is like especially I think there's very specific generation of people that came. As someone who if you count the tools like remove the tool play count, I believe my highest play count is spent in Team Fortress. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a very intimately familiar with that like engine and the feel of it, and just like even like the menu systems and the UI, it's all very
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar, shared across all the Source games. The menu is typical one of those things. They do try to, make a new main menu, but as soon as you open the settings, you're like, oh yeah, this is Source Engine.
right.
You
And
can,
I think there's a charm to it. It's like
yeah.
like I'm
I mean,
sure some.
even
Sorry, go ahead.
even for the Source 2 remake of Counter Strike, they try to make the UI look as shitty as the old Source games, and yeah, it's a charm.
Yeah, it's like the kind of person who can listen and hear like tell you what kind of synthesizer a music like oh, I love this specific synth sound that was coming off of this instrument they were using, this specific
Mm,
synth variation. There's a charm to something being of a certain to source, so to say.
yeah.
uh
But it's a bit of a shame that they don't easily give out code access anymore to people who want to make more unique things with Source. I mean,
right,
I get it. They don't really want to support it as a public engine. It's their private in-house engine.
right.
Yeah,
It's just
but yeah, that's the motivator why I'm trying to switch tools so I can release games
yeah,
more
that's
than on ModDB, right?
right. That's an important thing sometimes when you're making. Sometimes when you're making games to release them as like your own things. That's the weird downside of the fact that so many people own engines.
Yeah, and it would be hard to. I don't even know if I could legally submit a source mod to the Indiepocalypse because technically you're not allowed to commercialize them
Yeah.
without explicit.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
so
Indiepocalypse is like a black market, and I don't
yeah,
think.
I did notice. I on paper I'm required to tell Unreal Engine if I generate any revenue, and I forgot to do that before. I hope they're not gonna murder me or whatever.
Oh,
The
don't
the
worry
the,
about.
the like the
Uh,
huge money of revenue I'm making off Indiepocalypse.
oh, hey now, it's making you're in triple digits. You're making the triple figures. You're in the big bucks for Indiepocalypse.
Yeah, but the commission thing kind of paid for putting the game, or maybe not the game, but I want to put something on Steam
Yeah.
eventually. And Steam is really hostile towards indie games in
Yes.
multiple ways. They require you to pay $100 to put something on Steam, which you do get back if you earn at least $1,000. So if you make a free game, you don't get that back. That is one thing that makes it hostile. Then
Yeah.
if you sell something, they have a 30% cut. And interestingly, did you know it's not always 30. If you make 10 million, it's 25, and if you make 50 million, it's 20. So it is a reverse progressive. It gets less the more you earn. Just means they
Yeah.
take more from less selling games.
I wonder how
That's
much of that is like baked into they want to it's like
attract big games, yeah.
right it's like okay we're like whatever huge company EA is not going to show up
Hmm.
if they're taking 30%, but if EA is assumed to sell 20 million,
Yeah.
then like
Then they can get 5% more on that second 10 million, yeah.
right they're like
And
they're
another thing makes it more hostile, which is the 2-hour return policy.
yes.
So any games that's shorter than 2 hours is basically free on Steam.
Yeah,
Like
how long would you say the Elysian effect is?
it's like 20 minutes or half an
Yeah.
hour. I
Right.
also showed it to my professor the other day who never played video games, and he took like 45 minutes because he had to learn walking in a video game.
Yeah.
If you don't know what WASD is,
Right.
it's less than an hour for sure. Right.
That's I know that is like, and that a lot of games are, and that's like
Yeah.
Indiepocalypse sometimes, depending, like I'm sure some issues would come in under 2 hours depending on like the
The
selection of the
whole
games.
yeah. I
And
one of the other games I played on here was the staircase game, and that one
yes,
took I think 2 hours on its own, or at
yeah,
least I took pretty long because I like took all of it in.
yeah.
That was
Talking about
one
video
of the most
essays,
games.
video game
Yeah, it's
essays.
totally up in that alley. It's a kind of a poetry philosophy thing
Yeah,
that's also a game, but not not primarily. It's more of a rant.
yeah,
That was
but
one of the most games ever.
yes, I love having games that are quote unquote the most games I want to.
I
But yeah,
had to take a long break after that one to like process it.
that's a feeling. So I like that feeling in other art. So I'm like, well, it's nice to also see it in within games. But speaking of games, we're actually we're getting my timer,
Oh,
which I'm remembering to set now. We've reached the end of
yeah.
it. So I have a few more questions for you before we take a break. We got in another question while we were talking for you. As soon as I find
Oh,
my
okay.
correct window, here it is. What artists or pieces of media inspire you? And that is from friend of the show and prior contributor, I believe, or someone with the same name, Farfama.
Oh, hey, I know them from also Moshe Enjoyer. I think they also made a poetry game about climate change or climate grief, if I remember correctly. It was a really good game, if I remember that name correctly. Yeah, but in inspiration, I mean, one is really obvious, which is the Stanley Parable,
Yeah,
because it kind of rips that aesthetic and like puts a twist on it with the pixel. Um, but that's one of my most favorite games ever. The gameplay is very different though. I mean, it is a walking sim, but it's also a puzzle game. Puzzle inspiration, I mean, I already mentioned Portal is what I started mapping with. Um, I didn't make too many puzzle games after, but Antichamber is one of the games that kind of encourages me because Antichamber has a bit of a mechanic, but also each puzzle is its own thing and
yeah,
doesn't really build onto the previous one. It's like little bullshit puzzles one after the other. Um, and I kind of wanted to make a game like that. So there's not really an overarching mechanic in Illusion Effect other than walking. Each puzzle is its own. Figure out what the actual mechanic of this room is. That was
yeah,
Antichamber. And
yes,
then for the color scheme, Mirror's Edge is one of the most games out there, which has such a strong sense of color. Like each area has a heavily color coded thing, and I wanted to do something like that where the color actually is important to the areas. So I kind of try to more consciously color code each puzzle. And it's also relevant to the secret theme of the game, if you ever find out what that is. Those
Per-
are main inspirations.
perfect. And I have two more quick standard Indiepocalypse questions. I looked it up. The name of the game I believe is Solastalgia.
Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
name. I I don't remember names too much, but it is, yeah, it's that forest, and you switch between, and there's a bit
Yes.
of poetry, I believe.
Yep, that is the one. But two questions, two standard indie podcast questions that I ask every
Hmm.
from repeat guests. The first one, what is your favorite type of rock?
Oh, I don't remember that question. I do like the ones that are the LOD that is furthest away, so real low poly rock. I like those. Really,
Okay,
yeah, we can count the triangles.
and follow up. Do you have a favorite Toho character?
I'm not too into the Toho universe, Toho characters. I probably recognize a few if I click on it. No, I don't really. I'm sorry.
No, it's you don't no need to apologize. It's not a test. You're not going to be banished from the show for not knowing.
I'm
But
I'm banished from the Toho universe.
yes, and I mean, I guess technically speaking, you are going on temporarily banishment because we're at the end of our segment. Thank you for joining me so much. Uh,
Thank you. I'm gonna hang around for afterwards.
yeah, we'll be back in like about 2 minutes and 29 seconds. But until then, bye for now. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was a Treasury of Puppies with the Treasury of Puppies. We are here with our next guest, who you may know from issue, is it 33, 34? Did I close it? No, I left it open. Good. 36. I was close. Uh, with labor rights funeral in Ukraine. Returning champion, returning guest. We don't know champions on the show. Valerie, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing fine. How are
Uh,
you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing
Oh,
fantastic, more or less.
that's that's great.
I'm riding off that new release high. You know.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I'll put out another one.
Congratulations! It's like anniversary uh, anniversary number, like 45, right?
It sounds like it sounds like a very proper anniversary number.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know, we have anniversaries that are like on each 5 years and on each 10 years. So
Yeah.
it's like, but the ones that are on each 10 years are obviously more important. But those that are on 5 years are considered anniversaries too.
Yeah,
So it's like a minor anniversary, let's say that.
yeah, especially this one because because the fives are halfway through on the tens. I do um, a 8 hour pledge drive. So those are like my big
Oh,
ones. But on the fives, I just kind of hang out and I think, that pledge drive is coming up soon. I have to plan for it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that is always
nice.
a fun treat to plan for. Like self-hosting a thing for 8 hours straight, and you have to come up with
Yeah,
like segments and stuff.
yeah. So it's like a charity event, right? Pledge drive. Like
Yeah,
what?
charity
What?
in the sense that you're giving money to Indiepocalypse, which
Oh
it,
yeah, like yeah, it's very important
yeah
kind of charity.
is paying independent artists is kind of like a charity, and
Yeah, yeah, it is.
in a lot of
I mean,
ways,
no, but
yeah,
I guess okay.
it's
Is it a
also
charity when you ask for yourself, like for your own
yeah, right.
project?
You know what? It's fine by me. It's kind of running a
Okay.
charity since Indiepocalypse makes no money. I probably make more. I probably make less money than a lot of charities.
Yeah, I mean you're charitable, right? So it has to be charity.
Yeah,
Like,
that's. I should just call it a charity from now on.
uh,
Can I become a 401c in the U.S. if a legal charity since it's just no. Actually, I like losing money because when I lose a lot of money, I tell the government at the end of the year I lost a lot of money. And then go, we're sorry, and they pat me on the head, and give me money back. They're like, oh, poor baby, you're bad at business.
so it's
Have
like in the apocalypse officially registered as a business, or is
uh,
it like you are
no,
just a
no.
no?
It's like
Yeah.
I think in terms of like tax return stuff, it's kind of like hobbyist income or like uh
Uh-huh.
kind of in the same way, just like an artist who goes to a lot of conventions may not be like an incorporated business, but they still have a lot of like independent income.
Mm. It's not like tax, like there's no like no need to pay taxes for this basically, like
Right,
to
right.
register the
I
business.
I would theoretically pay tax if I had to like if I made money on it.
Okay.
But I don't. So instead, they give me money in return
Oh, nice.
because I have a lot. I report like a ton of losses every year. So,
So basically, you're like being funded by U.S. government.
yeah,
Is it?
to some
This is
extent,
what,
they do
yeah,
fund.
it's wow.
I
Well, like
I
it's
finally
like
tricked the government into giving me arts funding.
yeah, but is it like officially arts funding or is it like more
No,
like
no. If I was like trying to, if I was like doing woodworking or whatever, and I lost a lot of money doing woodworking, I would, as a business, I think I would also like. They don't care how I'm losing money.
oh, gotcha.
They
So it's
just
like just support for struggling businesses, basically.
yeah, it's like I don't know the ins and outs of U.S. tax law, but it's basically I have my
Hmm.
standard paycheck income that I make, and plus my tax withholding, and then I have this thing where I report my independent income, and they're like, "Hey, buddy, that's a lot of independent income we didn't tax you for," and then I go,
Uh-huh.
"Let me tell you about my independent expenditures," and they're like, "Sorry about that." You don't actually need to pay money on that all that independent income, and we'll actually give you some money back on because that's the thing about like you need to. I think some people like aren't aware of or they get caught up on or forget about where it's like you got to pay taxes on the money you make, and
Hmm.
when you're working a job, that just kind of comes out automatically.
Hmm.
But if you're
Yeah.
like an artist and you're like tabling at conventions and that's all your income, and you're not paying any taxes on that ever. At the end of the year, they're like, Uncle Sam's knocking at your door and asking for you. He's like, "Where's my money?" And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I spent it already. I'm a struggling artist." And you're like, "You should have thought about the taxes." And it's a fun thing, real fun thing. Those taxes.
Well, okay, fun. Fun is probably not the word that I would
No.
use to describe it. But I bet there's some kind of game that makes taxes fun.
Yeah, I mean, it could be more fun if they were like, for instance, funding schools and roads and public things, not jet fighters.
Yeah.
Then they might be a little bit more fun. But that's not what that's not what it comes into. But speaking of, in the ballpark of all this tax talk, if people are new to the show, you're a first-time listener, they're not familiar with your featured game. What is how would you describe labor rights funeral in Ukraine?
It's a Halloween game about the horrors of the new labor laws in Ukraine, told via the BT game engine, which is to say that it doesn't have a lot in terms of it has very specific art style, and it doesn't have a lot in terms of gameplay. It's more of a linear experience, and it was inspired by my my participation in non-government political organization. We're trying to push against such initiatives, especially now during the war. So, and it's a game about shitty laws that the Ukrainian government is trying to pursue because they think that the best way to defend the country is to basically open it up to business, because business is great, of course, as we all know, and business always pays taxes and never does anything bad.
No, business. I've never heard of as an American. I've never heard of a business doing a bad thing.
Never. Sure.
They're all very good. They're all
very effective and not causing any kind of global economical and ecological troubles.
I bet if a businessman was in charge of our country, that would be the best president we ever had. Yes.
Like this is clearly the sign that if the best country in the world is governed by a businessman, I mean, it clearly says something. So
it must be the best.
Best form of government there is.
Yes, is a business government masquerading as a democracy.
Yeah, what if countries were like just big corporations? And wouldn't it just make life simpler?
Yeah, right.
For them especially.
Yeah, so, I would love to just live inside. I would love to live in Pepsi. Get me out of the U.S. I just want to live in Pepsi.
But like Pepsi is probably the at least a bit fun corporation to live in. Imagine living in a corporation which is like making, I don't know, like parts for industrial machinery or something.
Right. I'm gonna live in United Steel.
Yes.
Well, there is.
So that's basically it about the game. Like it's a game about what if a government try
Yeah.
to do everything it's good to the business and not to its people.
Yeah, like what if they decide? Yeah, what if they use the situation to sidestep
Yeah.
labor rights and be like, oh, well, it's for the best, it's for the best.
Yeah, and it's basically like the good news, like updating. It has been almost a year since this game was published, and updating on this topic, like they haven't um, like made the law that I was talking about in the game into action yet. It's still like freezed, but some of the some of the politicians who are in charge of like the social politics in Ukraine are saying that basically it's a quote from a minister of social affairs. She said that like we should destroy everything that is social, which is like I don't know, it's kind of so out of place and weird to even think about. But she said it in the context that like in her view Ukrainians are too spoiled by
Yes.
the yes yeah,
Nothing
because
better than a politician
yeah
saying
every
the people are too
yeah, yeah.
spoiled.
Yeah, like in like what's preventing a politician from making a country a good one? Like it's country's people, of course.
Right.
So
We could
yeah, it's basically yeah.
right. No, it's people complain that we can't have nice things around here because you guys want too much. Why do you want so much from us?
Yeah. Basically, like we have too much like social security apparently in her view. So we should like demolish this any social system that is like there is in Ukraine, and basically force it will it is a quote again, force Ukrainians from their zone of comfort, which
Yeah.
is like to say to the people who are currently at war
Yeah, that's
is
that's a
yes
a real stretch for people who are usually not thought of as people, having a good
yeah
time.
yeah apparently we're in the comfort zone still somehow, like we are yet to be pushed from it and to become our independent entrepreneurs who will broaden their shoulders and march ahead and like make their millions.
Yeah, if
uh,
you're not making a business, are you truly living?
yeah, apparently, like if you're just working, you're in the comfort zone, and like if you're relying on some kind of support from the government, it's yeah, buddy, you're yeah, you should just step out of this comfort zone.
Yeah, just gotta
And
live life
try
more. Speaking
yeah
speaking of
try
comfort,
to live without money,
right?
like yeah.
Speaking of comfort zones, Valerie, what's the easiest and hardest part of making a game for you?
Oh well, I don't know. I guess the hardest parts are the beginning and the end for me
Yeah,
always. Like the beginning, because it's hard to come up with the idea, and it even harder to come up with to like find courage basically to start. And I have a lot of disappointments, a lot of projects that were not finished, and every time I start a new project, I'm like asking myself, will I push through it? Will I have like enough stubbornness to get it through? So it's like hard to get over this block. And finishing up when you have this period in the middle when you're like into the thing and you are very much you're having progress constantly. You're coming up with new ideas, and in the end, you just have to kind of stop and to wrap it up and to like just you know to create a itch.io page
Yeah.
to like to make it pretty to one of the hardest things is to write a description for me
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like describe a game and to just I don't know for some reason like it's it's not like it takes a lot of it doesn't take a lot of time or it doesn't take a lot of effort truly, but it's like it's kind of mentally challenging for me. Like it's just hard to do to force yourself to do it.
Right.
uh,
Right. It's as someone who's copies paste the exact same description for the last like 40 months.
yeah, yeah, descriptions are the worst, like it's just
I am, and it's also why I ask everyone for their own, because it's like that dual layer of trying to both sum up a game, but sum up a game that I feel like I'm not
yeah,
misrepresenting what the creator, like not summing up the game in the way that the creator wouldn't sum up their game. So it's also why I say, hey, make up your own description. Or in the few cases
yeah,
where I've
it's
had to
fair.
get it, I just copy paste it from their itch page.
Yeah,
Where it's
this is the kind of thing I would have done if I had like 45 issues of a indie zine
yeah,
published.
there's and I'll tell you something. Don't change anything, because whenever you change
Yeah,
something, it's like, oh shit, I forgot something. I forgot to add the tapes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
Uh,
rely on the process, and
yeah,
it's carry you through.
it's a whole process. Speaking of process, I forgot to. Someone gave me guff for that this month's cover. If you can see it trickling through every so often on the live stream, but
Yeah,
there's some naked people on it. Um,
yeah, it's sexy.
I love that thing. It's cool as hell.
Yeah,
But
it kind of looks like the city of Scene, who's like Miller. Is it comic book artist?
George Miller, not
George
George Miller, Frank Miller. George Miller's the
Frank Miller.
director.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Frank Miller, something like from this kind of style.
Yeah, it's got the. Anyway, I could talk about that thing for a while. It's got just like the center, the focus, the whole like verticality of it, the real impact of the text. It's a cool thing.
Yeah,
But I was like, wait a minute, you can't have that kind of stuff. I forgot, because I'm like, it's the
but
weird part of the internet being in the fully open space, where it's like and
but
also
I thought like on itch.io it's not a problem.
I well, at least somebody told me that it's a problem. Well, it also is. I looked through
Oh,
the rules afterwards. I was checking like, is this actually a problem, or are they just a scold? And it is actually a
yeah.
problem. You can't have it in your cover, not your covers, but like your cover page, not the kind of cover I have, but the traditional type of cover, like like your little image that would appear on your store page.
Mhm.
So I had to crop her. I had to crop her at the neck, so
Yeah,
so that nobody could see. And but then they open it, and then they get that full
they get
blast of it.
shocked. Yeah,
But it feels
yeah,
like very, I don't know, if you're an adult and you've seen a lot of things that a lot of art that adults make, it's not even like a very intense form of nudity. It's that weird thing about games still feel very young at heart, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. It's very how should I say, like stylish, very
Yeah.
aesthetically aestheticized, like kind of nudity.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that I want the covers to feel the like the games do, where it's like, oh, hey, here is an artist just kind of like doing their thing.
Yeah, Yeah, so basically you have different artists for every cover. Am I right?
Yes.
It's like its own thing. Uh, does the artists do they like know about the what kind of games are featured in the now is in the
Uh,
like
generally
in
not.
this
Some.
yeah.
Well, now I am finally no, because I commission artists 3 months ahead of time.
Oh
So I don't. I might know who the commissioned developer is, but I'm so far from knowing who the game developer is. I am. I am finally this month. I'm starting an important thing that I should have done 45 months ago, where I'm now
yeah.
doing. I'm building Indiepocalypse a month ahead, so I now am like people are submitting for an issue 2 months from now instead of 1 month from now, or 3 months from now
Ah.
or whatever. So I can actually be organized. I'm not like stressing out of people not giving me my thing until release day. I'll be like, cool.
Yeah, but it's kind of nice that the picture is the art piece itself, like it's self contained.
Yeah,
It
right.
has it's not just a representation of what is inside. It's just a thing that is also part of the experience, which I think is very interesting, very not like not conventional. I would say like
Yeah, no, because how could
very in the spirit of Indie Apocalypse.
yeah? Because I've it was just looking at your issue, like just looking at 36. I don't know how you would make one cover that like evokes even the feeling of all these games, because so many of them are going for such radically different feelings.
Yeah.
And they have different aesthetic sensibilities because they're all it's art. Art all comes from individuals, and we're all different individuals, or
Mhm.
groups of individuals, which then is another thing where it's like individuals putting themselves together and make a new thing, and it's so much. But art is a lot. But speaking of a lot, we don't have a lot of time left in this, which is to
Yeah.
say the timer hit the thing now. Uh, uh, Now, I've got two important questions for you. You've had time to prepare.
Okay.
What is your favorite type of rock?
Uh, uh, like, give me a moment. I'll have to translate. Like, uh, okay. So I really like shell rocks.
Okay.
They're also called cocuina. Like I don't know if I'm spelling it. Coquina, yeah. Which is basically like a sort of limestone, which is yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically like a limestone with a very visible shells, which is why it's called shellstone. And I just remember, uh, like in my when I was a child, I spent a lot of time with my
Oh,
father.
I'm losing you. I don't know what's happening.
Oh,
You're...
can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah. It's just you're getting garbly.
Okay. Okay. Do you hear me now?
Still not great. So, well, good thing we are at the end of our segment. Yeah, I'll let you do a little audio debugging.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yep.
Yeah, you're good now. You're
Yep.
good now. Perfect.
Great. Yes.
Oh no, there it goes.
Yes. Oh.
You had a couple of
Yeah.
words. Oh well.
Better.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
It
So
lasted.
I answered the main.
We had a perfect amount of time before it happened. Well, we will go on break then. We'll be back with our next guest.
Yay.
Well, Larry, thank you for joining me again on this show. We'll be
Yeah.
back
Thanks for having me again.
in 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Till then, goodbye.
Bye.
Welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was Kotoshino with Howl. I almost called it Roar for a second. I'm going through a moment where I was like, I'm getting really into that like Evergrace soundtrack. It kicks ass. I highly recommend. Game is a harder recommend to play, but that soundtrack, just fire up youtube.com and just give yourself a little treat of that Evergrace soundtrack. That said, we are here with our next guest, who you may know also from issue number 44 of Indiepocalypse Radio with Devour. It's Enrique Alves. Is it Alves, right? I should have asked.
Yes,
that. Perfect.
it is.
Nice.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Hi. It's really fun to be here, I guess. It's my first podcast, so really nervous.
No, this is not a. Don't worry about that. This is, This is not a podcast. We don't have segments. Occasionally I've thought of like, what if we had segments? But that requires too much thinking on my part, and I like this being a low stress, low effort environment.
Yeah, that's really good. It's good to be chilling here with you.
Yeah, I describe it very much as the equivalent of like, what if some people went to like say for instance and at the aforementioned Amaze, and then Amaze was over, and then we were just like hanging out afterwards and just talking about things, and that's kind of like what this is. And the people listening, the people who are like sitting at the table next to us, just kind of listening, I guess.
That's cozy.
They're like, what are those people talking about? Rocks. Mario. Huh.
Oh, what is that?
I don't know. I know, getting snippets of this. Oh, speaking of snippets of information, I finally get to ask this question. How'd you hear about Indiepocalypse?
That's actually because I was just lurking around itch.io, and itch.io started like recommending me really indie stuff. And then suddenly I saw Indiepocalypse, and I saw, hey, that's really great, you know. And when I found Indiepocalypse, that's a good question. Actually. I think I had like just finished a couple of jams on itch.io. I think it was like my last jam, and then I saw Indiepocalypse and was like, hey, maybe submit Devour. Like it's the most, I think, maybe personal game that I've made in a jam. You know, like I had a couple of feelings. I felt feelings making the game, and then I said, "Hey, okay, that's what I did submit. You know, what's the worst that can happen? You know, like just submitting the game." And that basically was it.
That's what I always hope for. I feel like there is especially having on itch, where all you're doing is like clicking a drop down menu and adding a game. It's the
that's the thing. It was so easy to do that. And comparing to publishing in any other platform, I was like, okay, hey, was that like all of it? Should I like maybe have I don't know, should I write a more through description? And I don't know. No, it was just like submitting the game and just waiting for the answer.
Yeah, that's how I like it. I like to make it like extremely like intensely low barrier to entry. So that like, just anyone who's made a game, and this is like the primary platform people publish on. So, and even if you don't, it's fast enough to get like I guess technically if people were not publishing on this and then they wanted to submit a game anyway, they could just email me. I don't really care too much about that. But yeah, the jams provided good. But speaking of the jams, speaking of submissions, your submission, Devour, tell me a little bit about Devour.
Right. So the game itself is it's a text adventure horror game that I made. It was initially it was inspired by Pale Luna creepypasta. I don't know if you have heard about it. It was a creepypasta that was kind of a little bit famous-ish.
Wait, which one?
I don't know, like how Pale Luna.
No, do not know.
It's, I mean, I don't know how famous
Right.
creepypastas can get, you know,
No,
with the
they're. I
whole.
think there maybe are a couple of like standouts, but they're also just like it's like kind of like with I think horror in general gets like gets really famous, but like everyone has like their own ones that they know intimately, you know.
Yeah, it's like this kind of unique, very violent thing. It's also really rich, so it's, I don't know, like when I don't even know how I discovered Pale Luna, to be honest, but I think I was just like looking around the XCP. It's XCP, right? The big creepypasta thing that is also kind of a universe on itself. It's, I don't remember the acronym, but yeah, anyway, like Luna, I found this creepypasta. It was about this kind of text adventure that someone found and it was really buggy and it was it had like real life coordinates that the person that found the game would go and then we would find like thousands of people and they were like, oh my god. So, it's like, you're a normal standard creepypasta, right? But yeah, like this gave me an idea, and it was I read this creepypasta in 2016, 2017, I guess, and this idea was like in my mind for a long time until like I finally made Devour and put this idea in practice. So, and also like the moment that I made Devour, I was in a little bit of turmoil. Like I had a startup, and making a startup is not as fun as late capitalism makes you think.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right, right. Or you're just kind of like I have to, especially when you're like I'm just kind of committing these ideas that I have onto this page or this line of code. And it's just yeah, you can't help but put yourself within the piece. You know, it's pretty unavoidable.
yes, and so, but it was really good. It was this kind of like cartaz. It's I forgot the word. Cartastic. I think it's cartastic, right?
So what was
When you
that?
have a cartaz, the cartaz. When you have like a cartaz feeling, uh, when you put all your feelings into the game, right? And it was really good. It was kind of like a small. It was a therapy-ish thing for me. I was putting a lot of my emotions in the game, and I don't know, like I really liked the result. Uh, I got really involved in the game.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm losing you here and there occasionally, so I'm getting a little like I'm missing a word or two on occasion.
Oh no.
Try.
Okay. Let me my.
Yeah, try. I don't know. Try unplugging and plugging back in. Maybe that'll fix everything. We don't know.
Yeah, I wish. The problem is my microphone. Wait, just 1 second here.
Gotcha. And I'll just vamp in the meantime. I'll be like, hey, how's everyone doing today? Twitch.tv. That's what do people do on Twitch when they're just by themselves and they're just talking forever? They just be like, hey gamers, what's going on in the chat? Or how you doing? What's Mario? He runs around a lot. He jumps on stuff. What a wild little guy. I was thinking a lot about that. Doing a double feature of those two movies back to back. I think it'd be funny. Two bad movies that are bad in different ways, perhaps. Ooh, I think we're switching over to mobile, maybe. Which,
Yeah,
hello?
I tried switching. Is the microphone better?
Yes, sounds better.
Oh, okay. Let's do it like this then.
Yeah, I think I think maybe like the phone quality. It's a little like the base level quality is a little worse, but is like consistent that I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, I'm using it like it's a phone call right now, so sorry about that.
No, it works perfectly. You're calling in. Hello, hello caller. You are on the air. How you doing, caller?
Hello there. All right, so it's so good to be here.
How are things? How are things down in that neck of the woods? But anyway,
I mean, you may hear my cats somewhere during the call, so sorry about that.
No, sometimes we hear cats, sometimes we hear dogs, sometimes we hear highways. You know, that's just that's the spice of life. You know.
Fair.
But that said, games, you made one. So what were you saying before? Do you remember what you were saying before we were kind of not disconnected, but inaudibly connected?
So Devour, I made it during startup, right? So startup stuff was happening. The startup was kind of crumbling.
Yes, the startup was an important word that I was missing this entire time.
That was like the big context,
yes,
while I was developing the Devour, is that I was in this startup that was really not going well, and it's a crummy feeling. It's not good.
Yeah, and that's like there's definitely like the appeal to startups. It's like, oh look, they got a ton of money. They're gonna pay me well and have good things. But then also they are starting up, so there's some instability there always.
Yeah, it's not only stability. Like I really, it's the whole feeling of talking with VCs, like venture capitals.
Oh yeah.
It's like you are pretending something. They know you are pretending something, and they are pretending that they care. And everybody's pretending so much, and it's like this is the creme de la creme of late capitalism, right?
Right.
And I was feeling all of that, and I was like, I wasn't hoping to be here. Like I just wanted to start a business, something that hey, that's my business, and
you're looking to get money. Someone's looking to spend money, and to some extent, they don't really care what they spend money on. They just want to spend it and ideally get some in return, but they don't. Yeah, it's like, how often does like a VC like, oh yeah, I'm really am passionate about the thing that I'm spending money on more than like it's a thing that I want to get money back from.
Yes, it allures you with this kind of like, oh, there's a lot of smart people working with startups and VCs, so maybe like you will have a lot of feedback and you will develop yourself, and that's kind of, I don't know. I got delusional, at the start of when I started a business, and I started feeling feelings, as one does when stuff like this happens. And coincidentally, there was this jam happening. There was the theme horror jam that happens every October, right? And I suddenly had the urge, okay, I have to make a game because I'm going insane. And so I had like this idea of making the Pale Luna game, a game based on Pale Luna, right? The creepypasta. And well, that happened to be Devour. That happened to be like the culmination of years of thinking about this creepypasta and thinking to myself, hey, I should make a game about that. And that was it.
Yeah, that is. I've actually in my heart, like somewhere down the road, wanted to make a creepypasta inspired game. Like, you know how so like especially in the game realm, so many of them are, I found a game but it's cursed, and all the the characters are bleeding. All the Mario's eyes are bleeding.
Oh my god, it's Mario.x. Oh no.
I wanted to make a very very regular platformer, but just or some kind of video game, a very standard kind of retro video game, but it just like randomly it has one random pull at the very beginning, and if you hit like that 1 in 50,000 or whatever chance, you play like a cursed version of the game that is like in some ways the real version of the game. But I want it to feel like organic, like it's not just like it's like you could play the game through and through and you never see that cursed version.
And like, okay, I see what is
right.
the
You're like, oh,
like
it's a
someone
neat
telling the forum in Reddit, oh my god, I played this game, but there was I played a version that my character was bleeding, and everybody was like, no,
that's right.
okay,
Right.
sure.
I want to organically create a creepypasta IRL. And I can say that because I've said it multiple times on the show. I can say that because it'll probably be a very long. First, I don't know how many people are listening to this, and second of all, when am I actually going to find the time to make that game? So
yeah, I mean, that's kind of like basing on creepypasta and stuff. I feel like it's kind of traditional, but it's also like really fun to make something out of it. I mean, at least like making Devour was really fun because I had a lot of creepypasta thematic choices. Like you're writing something and then suddenly what you're writing changes and the text suddenly disappears, and you're like, oh my god, what did I just seen? And it's really stunning, but it's also really fun. It gets some people on surprise. So
yeah, I think horror in
I can vouch for
general
this game.
horror is a lot of fun. I think, and just kind of in general a lot of ways because like there's like in some sense there's like some catharsis. Like you had some catharsis to making it, and you get to make weird creepy gross stuff a lot of the time, which is its own bit of fun.
Yes, I understand. It's funny because I don't play horror games too much because I'm afraid of blood.
Yes.
So that's why I think that's at least why my game doesn't also have a lot of blood, and I don't know, like
and
it doesn't.
When you're adding a little bit, you just close your eyes, right? You just close your eyes while you're doing it. Just cannot see.
Yeah, it was a little. To be honest, it was a little bit like this. The good thing is that at least I know what scares me, so I think I get more self-conscious about, hey, that is scary, so I kind of trust my feelings a little bit. But maybe it's just scary for me, so that's kind of a risk, because I'm afraid of playing games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you never know like what will scare somebody. I get a little bit of the kind of you have to walk around a room, collect some things while a scary guy chases you kind of games, and those do nothing for me really. Like there's like a primal feeling I feel to some extent where it's like, but it's in the same way if a person I knew was standing behind me and they told me I'm gonna hit you on the head at some point within the next 5 minutes. It's not like a fear, but it's just like a tension that something is gonna happen, and you just like your body is like I'm ready to react.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's. I know this. I know. I like playing with this. This is not the first horror game that I've made, but I think it's the first horror game that I've made 100%. Because I worked like before in a company that were like prototyping a lot of games and stuff, and one of the games was a horror game. So, I kind of understood at least this much. Like people like to feel this tension, that something is going to happen, but they don't know when.
Yeah, and
it's really.
Speaking of making games in multiple different styles, what would you say, Enrique, is the hardest part and easiest part about making a game?
That's actually a good question. I'm not sure. I think it depends, like if the game, because I worked like in some companies before, making games like for companies, and there's like when you're working for a company, it's just like the technical challenge because it's not yours. Like the game is just the company's game, and you're just staff, and you have to work for them, and that's basically it. You maybe choose a little bit, you have a bit of freedom in your area, but not much as to be like difficult, to think about this. You just have to do stuff. And that's what the corp wants you to do, right?
Right.
But making a game alone, I think thinking what you want to make, for me at least, is the most difficult part, because I have a lot of game ideas, but okay, why do I really want to make this? Is this going to be fun to make, or or will I get tired of doing this in the midway? So I think that's, for me, that's a question that lingers in my mind a lot while I do jams. Is like, am I having fun? And if not, why? And what I should do to start having fun making my game, So I think that's the most difficult part, because the rest is, I feel like everything else lies in like technical challenges and communication and stuff, but this question at least is always, in the top of my head when I'm doing my own project.
Yeah, right, because if you're like, especially when you're just making, like, especially within like the realm of like game jams, if you're not doing a game jam for something you enjoy, then you're really like, why am I doing this at all?
Yes, yeah, it's like, oh, I want to, like, maybe, and I've seen this a lot, like, oh, I want a bigger portfolio of games, and you have to make a big portfolio of games to work in games, or else you won't ever be able to work in games.
Nobody knows what you made.
But yes, like, how you should complete all small games, and you should like complete like Atari games, and you should like make games that are, and so many games, and at the end of the day, if you're not making something that you're liking, like, why? It doesn't make sense.
Because in a lot of cases, I think, you could have a full 8-game portfolio, but if you have like one really strong game portfolio, that might work better, because you're like, oh no, I made the one thing that I really enjoyed, instead of just making 8 things that I trudged through to make things, so that I had to make things.
Yeah, I would even go as far as to say, like, liking your own stuff is probably a good indication that you're going to make something fun for the others, right?
Right. Yeah. Or
I hardly make something fun. Like, if I'm not having fun in the game jam and I finish the game, I think, okay, that's I should. I don't even want to play my own game, right?
Yeah,
People
right.
won't want to.
And not even because you already played it too much, and you're like, oh, I'm fine with this. Like, I just don't want to. Like, I have made something I'm dissatisfied with. Or like, I think the worst feeling is making something you feel nothing about.
Yeah, it's like, that's a game.
Yeah, right.
Well, of all the games, that's certainly one of them. And
to borrow a phrase, right? It's the least of games.
Yes. It's not a good feeling.
Because, like, I think even a game that you make that you're like deeply dissatisfied with, like, you can still see what you would like in it and where you went wrong, and that is like still like a feeling you have about it. You're like, oh, if I had done this or this, or oh, I wish this was better, rather than a game that's just nothing. You don't feel good or bad about.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. It's at least it's a reason to think about the game.
Yeah. Right. I'd rather think about something I hate than never think about it again.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, but yeah, I think so too.
I guess unless it makes you a lot of money, then that's one of those little clauses where, oh, it doesn't matter. Money changes a lot of things, and I'm sure you could find it to very dispassionately make a game if you knew it was successful.
Yeah, that's.
I guess that's part of working for a company sometimes. A company.
Yeah, no, it was definitely like this. Like, I had a salary, so yay, all right. That's good. That's capitalism. But at the end of the day, I was just looking at, and there's one of the games that I worked in this company that I worked in. It was a mobile game company, so I mostly, as an engineer there, I was working in monetization and making pop-ups and making pop-ups to improve monetization and improving monetization via pop-ups. Right, that was the 4 things that I was.
The 4 pillars of gaming.
Exactly. The 4 pillars of game design. You should like
Yeah.
that's basically like the most important stuff.
Uh,
But there was this one game that I worked like for almost like 9 months, I think. I mean, more if you count like the prototype phase, in
Yeah.
which like was during the whole process of the game, I was in it, and we launched the game globally, and there were millions of downloads, and I was one of the engineers that worked since the very beginning. And at the end of the day, I was like, that's
right.
that's still one of the one of the games ever. So it's complicated. It's complicated.
Right.
Now I'm starting to get more into the like after Indiepocalypse and after like getting into itch.io and getting back to game jams. I started to feel like, hey, there's more to life.
Right.
Just like making games to big corporations. Right?
That's part of why I enjoy having a completely non-art job. It's just kind of I do like accounting work for 8 hours and I go home and I don't have to think. I guess I do accounting work with Indiepocalypse, but that's not for fun. That's because I have to. But I kind of it's like I don't have to worry about that sort of thing anymore. But speaking of worrying about that sort of thing, Enrique, I'm worried about two very important questions for you, which is,
oh my god,
what's your favorite type of rock?
I like the shiny ones that are probably radioactive.
Okay. So
But I'm not into nuclear physics or something. It's just like I like the thought of, hey, shiny rock.
Yes.
That's fun.
And follow-up question: do you have a favorite Toho character?
So I tried to prepare myself for this question.
Yes.
And I feel I fell into a trap because there are many characters.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, so I can't say I have a favorite character now, but now the tab, I feel like the Pandora box is open, so maybe I will have a favorite character in the future.
That's what I'm hoping to open that Pandora's box for people on this show, or I presumably that's what the Mochi, the original question asker of that question, I was hoping to like. What if I just trick people into getting into Toho project? Maybe that's what I should do.
It works.
I should call it Toho Project every time because sometimes people think I'm talking about Toho, the Japanese film studio, Godzilla and all that stuff.
Oh,
but calling it Toho Project that would help remove any of that. That would, as Wikipedia has, a disambiguation.
So they are opening out the wrong Pandora box.
Yes, I've had people be like, "Oh, I like Godzilla." I was like, "No, that's the wrong Toho." I'm talking about.
That's the wrong answer.
I'm talking about the Danmaku series.
There are no wrong answers, but that was one of them.
Yes,
that was one of the wrong answers.
But also, maybe I'll start asking people what their favorite Godzilla creature is, their favorite kaiju. I like Gigan. Enrique, do you have a favorite someone within the extended Godzilla verse, or even the Gamera verse? Big men in big rubber suits.
Oh, damn. I mean, I don't know if Power Rangers count.
It kind of
I
does.
do like.
It's within
Okay.
the extended Tokusatsu family. Tokusatsu meaning special effects, I believe.
Okay, so I like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is something that I don't know. That was the first thing that came to my mind. They trying to defend the city while destroying them.
Yeah, yeah. It's but people in rubber suits. It's almost like wrestling. It's a weird thing. Anyway, Destroy All Monsters is kind of fun. I think it's best. They seem best experienced with friends. There are kind of movies that I can. There are some movies that I like. I only enjoy, but if I'm watching them with friends, and I could not watch them by myself.
Yeah, Power Rangers it surely fits this definition. I think at least.
Well, that said, we're gonna Enrique, thanks for joining me. We're gonna be going on break.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be back in about 3 minutes and 27 seconds. Goodbye for now. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was Titus Andronicus with Upon Viewing Oregon's Landscape with the Flood of Detritus. I had to extend the VLC for that to make sure I knew the whole thing. We're back and the whole crew is here. Hello, whole crew.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
You do just use the music segments to show everyone all of the good music you like?
I do. That is like my excuse. It's like partially a pirate radio show to be like, when I start off, I'm like people really need to listen to Azusa Plain, which I like a lot. I like Azusa Plain a lot, and you can get.
I would totally also just enjoy showing people my favorite musics if I run a show like this.
Yeah, it's like a little secret thing, and it feels more comfortable than like having a friend in a room and being like, "Oh, you gotta listen to this album, dude."
Yeah, sure. I'll listen to it sometime.
Yeah. So it's like, dude, I'm gonna turn on. I'm just gonna like. It's hard to invite a friend and be like, dude, we're just gonna listen to Sleep. We're gonna listen to that Sleep album all day. Get ready for it. I think that album is too. Dope Smoker is too long for this to play during Indiepocalypse Radio, even for the preamble, because it's like, 40
Let's see
minutes.
Paul Allen's favorite song.
Well, what is Dope Smoker?
Oh, I don't know if any of you have seen American Psycho.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's me, except that is
and
me.
And showing songs to people involuntarily, and then
that I have my
or
rain
indie games.
I have
or
my
showing
raincoat
people
on.
indie games, yeah.
And I'm playing all of Dope Smoker, so they have to like I'm dancing for like 40 minutes long. That's my true pleasure in albums is like 20 songs and the album is 15 minutes long, or one song and the album is an hour long. It's like true pleasure on both spectrums, both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Anyway, this is my way of saying, what if everyone is listen to the show should listen to Dope Smoker. It's rules, and you can just listen to it. You don't even need to like imbibe, as they say. You don't even need to follow the what's the word I'm looking for, the instructions of the album's name. You can just listen to it just stone cold sober. It still rules. That's how I always listen to everything.
You seem definitely like a Bandcamp type of person.
I got 3 albums from Bandcamp this morning.
Yeah. I mean, Bandcamp and Itch are kind of the same vibe.
Yeah, that's where I got Treasury of Puppies, and some the other ones I played. I got a No Milani, and what's the name of this album here? Kashmir. It's also, we get a lot of good international stuff. I like listening to international. That's like, where was No Milani from? Is that I think that's Nigerian guitar music.
Wow.
Kashmir is oh, sorry, the album title was Rosa Mystica. That I think that's like Quebecois doom metal. Anyway, I like a lot of music, all different styles.
I do like ambient music.
Yeah.
Also tried making some music myself for the game here, and it's like a couple 10-second short jazz loops. I don't know if anyone would be interested in listening to those on their own.
I have a keyboard in the corner of this room that aspirationally I'll learn to play. I kind of.
Is it like MIDI or is it just a
MIDI?
Like, ooh, you could plug it into your computer.
I bought a MIDI adapter so I could do just that.
Oh, I also bought a MIDI adapter, but it didn't work with my keyboard.
It was funky. It was very weird to get to work. Eventually, I did get to work, but it was weird.
Nice. It's always fun to make your own music for your own games.
Yeah, it's like
another layer of software to learn.
Yes. It's like a cheap $60 Casio or whatever, but it's like a full enough keyboard.
Or whatever works.
Yeah. I don't need them.
you can also make music with like banging shit against the wall and recording that, and then just putting it into some audio software and stretching it really long, and you have some really cool ambience.
Yeah, no,
Whatever works.
Exactly. There's like, just take a thing and feed it through 30 different feedback filters or whatever, and then you like you've turned a guitar into a different instrument entirely.
Yeah, shout out to Avery, who made the music for the second half of my game, just with a guitar doodling around for like half an hour on the reverb thing she plugged in, and yeah, it's really dreamlike music that ended up in the game.
Oh, let me look at this. Yeah, that is like you can. It's a true like I like the idea of noodling, and
yeah, just noodling around and then cropping it up later, and making little loops out of it.
And like quote unquote, like people should do more like video game noodling. Like things are like, is this gonna be a real game? I don't know. But I just kind of noodle around in this game.
In a game, or like just noodling around in a game engine until something comes out.
Right, and maybe nothing ends up coming out of it, but you have like little bits and pieces of something. And
yeah, that's kind of what Game Jam suggests.
Yeah,
judging from the name, that it's gonna be some kind of noodling. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like. It's part of why I get a little what's the word, cautious when sometimes too many things are like when too many competition style game jams,
Yeah.
Where it's like,
there are some. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Cool. No, it's just that about the game engines, because there are some game engines that are really good for noodling around, right?
Yeah.
Like there was one game in the 44th, and actually there are in more beatsy like games in some Indiepocalypses, right? And
Yeah.
it was one of the game engines that I never tried out. And after checking the issue, I was like, hey, what is this game made from? And I started noodling without like I automatically started noodling around like, hey, suddenly I got like a little bit of story, So
yeah,
there's some game engines that are really good for that.
Bitsy is what Valerie works in also, right? For a bunch of games.
Yeah. Basically, I'm actually doing a Bitsy game right now, but it's kind of opposite of noodling because it's a bit more lengthy. But Bitsy is perfect for just like games that you can make in an hour, for example, or like.
Did you ever hear about the 1 hour game jam?
Yeah, I've heard about
it's
it.
The thing.
Never participated though.
if you get fast enough into your tools, like if you're comfortable using the tools, you can put out little games there. It's every weekend, I think, once per week. I think this weekend already happened. I can recommend it, but don't have high expectations, of course.
Have you made something for this jam?
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently learning a new tool, so I'm really slow with like professional engines. But before, when I was using Source, I was really fast, and I participated in 1 hour game jam. I think 4 times or 3 times. One of the times I deleted because it was really bad, but the other one was just one time like an interactive version of the trolley problem. It didn't have any unique thing to it. Just you were deciding to push the lever or not, and that was the whole game. One little jump and run, and one game where you collect bones and like throw them on a pedestal, and then you have a full skeleton at the end. Each of them only taking like a minute to play or less. Yeah, but it's a challenge, and it's really high adrenaline for 1 hour, and then you're exhausted for the next of the evening.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it sounds like a perfect kind of jam for Bitsy games, basically, because they're so easy to make. I'll have to look at it more closely.
Yeah, they do have a theme every time. I mean, they're not too strict about things, but I can recommend it just for fun. Oh dear, my itch pages for those don't even exist anymore.
That sounds very fun.
Yeah, I like to. I highly encourage the idea of just like messing around with different engines. There's so much to make a game jam where you have to use, like one of those free pre-built kind of like engines, especially like one you're not familiar with. Like, hey, try to make a game in a new unfamiliar engine. Make a game in Bitsy or an old
using
RPG.
this programming language that no one ever heard of.
Right. You make your RPG Maker game. Make a game in a shmup maker. Just kind of like mess around in just a different engine, and because I like them as instruments. They're instruments in a way. There's different like tool sets. There are different materials for art.
Full circle again. Viewing games like viewing music.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the career thing, I think I don't know about Andrew, but both of you have like worked in the game industry in some way, I think.
I would never dare.
You were never there, yeah. I also don't know. I also kind of view game dev a bit like someone picking up a guitar and playing for fun. Like maybe they're gonna turn it into a thing that they can live on, but probably not, and that's fine.
Yeah. Sometimes it's fun. It'll be like a local bar band,
Oh yeah.
Or just like the kind of person who just like paints for friends and family, or just yourself.
Oh, on that note, painting for friends and family. There's also games as a way to do something that stays private. Like I've made, I think, 2 or 3 games that never see the light of the day because they were only meant for like one person, and that's cool. If one of them was more of a website puzzle. I mean, if you're comfortable in an engine and it takes an hour to do something, you can totally make a love letter to someone in a game engine or something like that.
Something I've been wanting to do is make little personal games, and I have I bought a PS1 copy of RPG Maker, and I want to make just little personal RPGs for people.
Yeah, sending that to a bunch of friends and
just like mail them the memory card. And be like, you have the game now. That's where the game exists.
Actually, I made a little game for my younger brother in Game Maker back in 2016, I think, like for his birthday. It was like game, 1.5 game, 1.5 of a postcard. So you kind of have to go through levels to unlock parts of the, it's kind of parts of the speech, like the celebratory speech. So you will have the full congratulations when you finish something like 10 levels or something. Yeah,
that's cute. Personalized video game. There was also the game you made with the tree, which I think most of your games are based on like real life experience and many ways.
Yeah.
And the tree one, like you actually broke into that zoo to look at that tree with 2 other friends. Did those 2 other friends ever get to see the game? What did I think?
Yeah, they did. Like one of the friends was my partner, so she was intimately involved in the process of developing the games. She like saw it on all the stages, and the other friend really liked it. Like he was inspired to make a game too, because he is an artist too. He's a poet, but he never did, I think.
It's cute. It's one of the games. I mean, I played through. They're all like also 5-minute long games or 10-minute long games. At least I didn't play every one, but from the ones I played, those was probably the most artistic one. Like pretty environments. The other ones were more basic. And even earlier, you had like I played one 3D game, the maintenance one. That one also seemed very, very like Stanley Parable-esque, with like 4 wall breaks and so on.
Yeah, so actually it was a game made in Game Jam, like in 2 days, and it was one of the most crunchy game jams I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, making 3D is intense.
Like not for only for me, it was like 5 people who were like working for something like 40 or 48 or 52 hours in a row or something. It was kind of horrible.
Yeah. It's,
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
uh,
Teams are difficult on a small
yeah.
scale, yeah.
I had the last time I did Global Game Jam. I think this is the last time, or maybe the second to last time. This was also, anyways, a long time ago. Either way, but we had a team of like 8 people, and nothing ever really got made. But
Oh, it's yeah.
oh, yeah.
but we
Big
hung
teams
out
in.
and tried to cook Lunchables with a laptop. It didn't work.
Oh dear. Yeah, I mean the ideal is always, oh, we want to have flat hierarchies and so on, and that works on if you're working alone, if you're working with 2 other people maximum, and then
Yeah.
more people, you do need like a kind of manager role, or
That-
at least you need to have central moments where you all together like decide who works on what, or nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I had those
I
experiences too.
That was me. I was the producer.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I guess you didn't have too much. I mean,
No,
maybe a learning experience.
and then I was like, it just didn't come together in anything really. But it was like just people hanging out, you know. Sometimes things just don't work. It was a weird thing where they were using Unity physics, and I don't think they should have. They should have just did hard coded movement. Because I ended up making the game, the theoretical version of the game, in like an hour in Game Maker, because there was so much fighting with physics and like.
God, physics and games.
Yeah,
Suck.
yeah, it's truly cursed. Just math. Just use math. Use math. Make you move your own physics. Look at those physics and throw them in the garbage.
I mean, it's cool when a big company with a big budget does something cool with physics.
Right.
I mean, all of Half-Life 2 is basically showing
Mhm.
the cool physics of the game. But whenever I touch it, it's also just cursed.
Yeah, it's not. I feel like game, especially like there's not nothing more. And this is a personal taste, of course, but I find so much awkward. Like when I see like awkward like 2D, like, and it feels like, oh, this feels like it's just using the built-in physics instead of just like, well, if you just made your guy jump up a number of pixels and then fall a number of pixels per second.
And always be sure to put in the delta time, or
Yeah.
or it will be wacky on low FPS.
Yes, right. That is, or speedrunners will find out like, oh, we want to get this on low FPS because it makes speedrunning better, or the inverse, or that is the very funny thing about game speeds and tying things to game speeds and all sorts of like things like. All game, like so many games are like obviously just like hacked together in the moment, and I think it's fine for a game to be hacked together and just work so long as it works, and not having it to be perfect. Because
Yeah, it's kind of weird if you're making a game jam game and thinking about how speedrunners will gonna probably break it, and like at least if you're not making this game for speedrunners,
Yeah,
in which case, yeah, definitely this is something you should be thinking about.
It's this whole other like sub category or subculture that has risen around. I say sub as if it's not like massive. I get surprised sometimes how massive it is when I see like, you know, when I'm in old YouTube incognito style and it starts recommending me all sorts of multi-million view speedrunner things. And I'm like, this is big. And also like 8 million little subcultures.
It's kind of like sport. I mean,
yeah.
Like what if video games were sport? Basically, what if you make a game in any kind of video game into a sport discipline, sort of?
Yeah, and is it like?
In some places it is recognized as a sport, I think. Yeah, and for I especially like following it for obviously Valve games because that's what I'm big into, and they always find new ways to speedrun. Every other year or so, they find a new game-breaking bug. And it just doesn't stop. It just seems like the code keeps giving glitches.
Yeah, and that because if you push it to like these extreme edge cases that no normal player would ever run up against, you know, and then you just like keep poking at the seams of something until the it's you know it's part of it, the joy of it being like a participatory medium, you know, in the way that you can't like when you're watching a movie, you can't just start stepping into the movie and start messing around with things. You can't point the camera to the right and see that they're on a soundstage.
Well, that's funny. Sometimes you can see it like in little reflections. If you pause and you close, look at the like door handle, you can see the camera or whatever.
Yeah, or see something, you know, something that got left behind, or you just like things, just like the kind of like imperfections of it not being the real world.
And if you're developing games yourself, you start viewing games with that way. Also, you're trying to not experience it as a game. You're trying to look for how it was built.
Right.
Like what kind of mechanics the game developers use, and like reconstruct it and figure out how to break it. That's always fun.
There is a certain feeling sometimes, you know, after working it for a while, there was you know, much in the same way of Source, like even something like Game Maker has like its feeling to it, you know. And I remember loading up very specifically. I remember loading up Undertale and being like, "This is a Game Maker game, isn't it?" It has that kind of feel to it, that kind of a movement feel, and it is. But then there are other games where it's like, "Oh yeah, this is a Game Maker," because it has that kind of like, you know, this kind of 2D vibe to it. It's hard to just, or more like you can tell it's not a Unity or Unreal game, and maybe it's like telling by process of elimination, you know.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to tell what, like, I probably wouldn't be able to tell if a game was made in Unity, because just how much different games can be made in Unity.
There is a typical Unity aesthetic that I have in mind when I think it's like a flat, shaded, low poly 3D game. So whenever I make something like that in Unreal, it almost feels like a Unity game or in whatever other engine. And my goal is also to, when people look at it, not to think that it's an Unreal game, but to think like maybe there's a Unity game, maybe it's something else.
Yeah, no, I would, because that is in the experience when I am handed indie Unreal games, they're like, wow, look at these huge high-res assets.
Yeah, those like totally not from Quixel, all using HDA, like the new type of texture format.
Right. This is kind of like what I imagine is sort of like default
Unreal
and
toggle volumetrics on, and the scene looks like amazing, but it's like the default volumetric settings.
I'm like, wow, this game runs like crap on my computer.
Wonder why.
Oh, it's an Unreal game. That's why.
Hey,
I'm starting to recognize assets more than recognize engines by now. Like Mixamo animations, for example. Like when a character is starting to dance, I was like, "Hey, that I've used that too." You know, I completely understand.
Yeah, no,
you're using it. So.
It's in the same way that of like there are sound libraries, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, you keep
like
hearing
stuff from Incompetech. I don't know, like if you guys. The music from Incompetech, like the stuff that you look for. Hey, Creative Commons soundtrack.
Yes.
Techno, and then most of the time I can like hear a soundtrack in a game jam. And I was like, hey, I've used this too. That's a good music.
I see you're also a good friend with Kevin MacLeod.
Kevin MacLeod,
yes. Oh, we're acquaintances with Kevin MacLeod.
That's shared. But that's like, you know, it happens in all sorts of stuff, you know. Movies and TV shows reuse like similar like shooting locations and sets and stuff. I remember seeing like a clip or you know, a long time ago seeing, what was it? it was like some kind of clip or something for the Adult Swim show Children's Hospital. I was like, that's the Scrubs Hospital, and it's like because that was like a shooting hospital or whatever that thing was, and it's just like people sometimes will dig through prop departments and like repurpose props, and the same thing with like digital prop stores. So he's like, I'll just download these crates off of the Unreal Unity store or whatever.
If anyone's familiar with like the back rooms, they all use the same carpet texture. There's one carpet texture in Textures.com that you see all over the place.
Right. Yeah.
Textures.com, next resource you can learn by heart.
That is like just like a part of art is like real, especially the independent stuff. It's like, what do we have, and let's not make more things that we have to make brand new. I think that should be like the part of the spirit of it. It's like, why spend 6 months making these assets that already exist? If
it makes things faster for if you want to focus on other things. But then again, it's also fun to make a thing where you can in the end be like, oh, I made almost every little asset of this.
Yeah.
Obviously, it takes much longer.
Right. It's all about determining how far back to the beginning of the universe you want to go when you want to make your apple pie.
I want to program my own engine. I want to build my own computer.
Right. I want to develop my own operating system. I want to develop my own computational language. I want to create my own system of metallurgy and refinement of minerals. I want to create my own planet. I want to make the universe.
I do wonder how different games would look if people would more usually program their own engines. I mean, it's not viable in this universe, but imagine a universe where there's no Unity, no Unreal, no Source Engine, and everyone programs their own game engine.
Right.
There would be a lot more creative freedom also.
Right. There's a lot, like if just like the baseline, if C or whatever, was just like more easily accessible to people.
Yeah, like maybe that would be, if you ever stumble on YouTube across these video games in like higher dimensions or using non-Euclidean space, you don't usually do that in Unity or whatever. You have to like program your own graphics interpreting software to display 4-dimensional stuff. Right. I think there would be more of that, like things that modern engines just aren't equipped with, but because they aren't equipped with that, we don't even think about wanting to do that.
Yeah, because it requires like just such a skill set. Even working in these pre-built engines requires a skill set, and then you have to like get a more complicated skill set on top of all that.
Yeah,
but maybe it's also like something that engines give, I think, is that like this sort of productive limitations. Like why I like Bitsy so much is precisely because I don't have to invent anything, and I have to like just do this very high level kind of thing. But like paradoxically, like when I do it enough and I feel comfortable enough, I get into the code, and that's why all my Bitsy projects of late are becoming like a slog, because I'm messing too much with different like scripts and do some kind of weird stuff with them. But I've only gotten into this because I have Bitsy. So it's like cool to have engines, because you can get really deep into them, and sort of this is a good, interesting and like accessible way of getting into like creative game development, I think, through this pre-built like ready-made things. And if you don't want to go that deep, you can always like use this limitations to like make your life a bit easier.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like dialectics here.
Right. It's that kind of like, but it gives you that taste for it. So like, oh, what if I can? I'm familiar with Bitsy. Yeah. I understand some of the structures of building games. It's like, what if I tried, a more code-intensive engine? And it's like, what if I just opened up Notepad++ or whatever, Or
Yeah,
what's the
basically what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I'm just the amount of code is so big that Bitsy in the browser is like starting to lag, and I have to download the HTML version of the game and just open it in the editor and make some code and then download it back into the into the browser. So but unfortunately, like sometimes it doesn't work for some reason, because some markups or tabulation doesn't work the same way. So it's like I have to redone it. So it's a very tedious kind of process, and I'm kind of having second thought about starting this project, but it's kind of fun because you explore the limitations of this engine, and you think about what can suit you better, and like what you can learn to do this more efficiently.
Yeah, but what if you download Visual Studio and just went straight into C++ and don't worry about all these engines? And yeah, there is that
program in assembly.
Yes, like
but
like a true video game was meant to be programmed in.
Yeah, but if you said this to me like before I was getting into video game making through Bitsy and other engines, like I would be just terrified.
Right.
I would think it's basically like how how I view game development, something like I don't know, like 20 years ago. I thought that you have to be a very good programmer in order to make games, and I will never be a very good programmer, so I will never do games. And it was pretty depressing. So like I really like engines for this kind of limitations that they give.
The lower the entry, the more easily people will try it out, and then the last game you released, what was that one? The bird one is probably like your 10th or whatever game in Bitsy. So now
something like this, yeah.
So now you really like know about the limitations, what it's good at, what it's bad at, and where you could possibly break it. And that's kind of how I felt with Source also. When you start getting to know the tools and the limitations, getting to like break them, or also wish for a different engine at the end if you think it's too limiting. Or even before.
It's funny that you've mentioned this game about the bird, because I think it's probably it's kind of like 10 Bitsy games that I've made, but it's kind of the first Bitsy game that I've made in terms of it's the simplest game that I've made. I've made it in like less than 2 days, and all of my other Bitsy games were just huge projects that I were working for like a week or more. So it's like they were kind of against the spirit of Bitsy games, and I had to learn a lot of Bitsy and game making to be able to make something very simple in Bitsy. It's kind of strange this way.
Yeah, you still have all the experience of all the other more longer, bigger game projects behind you.
Yeah.
About engines, it's a little bit of a shameless plug, but it's recently I've made a website called Engines Database, and I'm actually like looking for weird, quirky engines more and more because people are suggesting me engines, and actually Bitsy was one of them that was suggested to me, like this kind of specific, very niche engine, but that helps a lot with this concept that, I have to program a lot to actually make a game. And Fantasy Consoles is actually one of these, kind of engines that helps a lot people because it creates limitations, but it also have like a lot of tools to make you you can actually make a game super fast, and you don't need to worry about graphics and stuff because you can also use this in the editor, the old game maker editors. So It's kind of interesting. Like it's been like a growing database of engines that I've never heard about before, and
Yeah, you're
like a lot
actually
of
in.
this.
I didn't know about this, but this is very cool because you are in a. You share Indiepocalypse 44 shares a spot with a kind of like burgeoning engine, with the engine maker. You know, what's it called? A walk through the Narat. Um,
Oh
yeah,
yes, that Narrat is actually in the engines database too. So
yeah.
it was.
A walk through the forest, Liana. That is the creator of Narat. Was actually in that same issue that you were in.
Oh, that's right. I actually played his game. It was really cool. I discovered he was the one making Narrat because during the game there is this. Hey, I made this feature in the engine. I made the video feature in Narrat because I
Yeah.
needed it for my game. So
Yeah, so
that's
it's like
cool.
there's all sorts of like little custom engines in there, and it's a cool little thing. But speaking of cool little things and custom little engines, this this radio show has been a cool little thing. That's over 2 hours now, which is I'm getting better at saying 2 hours. We gotta shut it down, because eventually it has to end. So does anyone have any kind of last minute quick things you're like, oh, I gotta say besides promotion? We'll get to promotion. But other be like somebody like, hey, here are some things. A question I wanted to ask someone, a thought I wanted to desperately get out. If not, we will move on to that.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you repeat what was last thing you're talking about? Like the game engines database? Am I right?
Yes.
Is it
Yes.
like all game engines? Oh, yeah.
No,
I've
it's not.
posted
It's
it
just
into the
engines
chats.
database. So yeah, sorry, I was sending in the chat. I think it's easier.
I got them
Engines.
both.
Wait.
Engines-database.com.
Exactly. That one.
No.
Because Game Engines database was already bought. So I couldn't.
Yeah, because I started
couldn't
like
have
looking
it.
for engines database and it did nothing. So
Yeah.
oh, cool. Yeah. Have you heard about this? I'm trying to find this link, like the small engines. It's not called database, but like
Small engines
engine-
list.
yes, or collections, something like this. That have like it's like a yeah, I can't find it probably. It's like a list of all different weird, like small engines, game engines.
Was it a post, like a blog post on a website, or because I remember like one of the blog posts that I've seen recently after the Unity kerfuffle, it was something like, "Hey, here are like 30 small engines," and it was kind of like the same time that I
Tiny
was
Tools.
actually
Oh,
publishing the
yeah,
site.
it's called Tiny Tools Directory. It's like a site with a lot of cool tools for game making, like not only game engines proper, but also like some stuff to make graphics or to make video, to make animation. Some, like it's very broad. It's more broad than just game engines, but it's neatly like categorized. So you can find different.
Oh, I just checked it. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's also I think it's good to put it on the link on the
Oh yeah.
on the chat. I never heard about this.
There we go.
Yeah.
tinytools.directory.
Yeah. Tiny Tools.
So many cool little tools. I see Pico's on here also, and Tick80 looks also very cute. For like little game engines that are tile-based or in browser.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me
Yep.
of the Bitsy or whatever.
Yeah, I discovered like there are even like Pascal game engines and like game engines that actually publish for a Game Boy. The Game Boy Studio it's something that I want to use somewhere in the future.
Yeah, I have. I've got. Oh, they are in this room. I have a Game Boy game on a physical Game Boy cart made in Game Boy Studio in this room with me right now.
Nice, that's really cool.
I have a leftover of Taylor McHugh's game. I have been bringing her around to local events, and it's just
That's
hanging
really
out.
nice.
You can, and people still sell little cases in there. They're cool little things. With that said, unless with anything else, we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna go get some food. So, Enrique, where can people find your stuff? We already put Engine's database in there, but your other where can people find your game work and other things that you just want people to find?
All right. So, actually, my itch.io, it's where I've been publishing most of my stuff. So, it's currently illusionfisherman.itch.io. You can also use perons.itch.io. Like both links work right now.
And that's Illusion
But
Fisherman.
yeah, sorry, illusion-fisherman.itch.io. And yeah, but right now I'm working on engines database. So if you anyone has a suggestion or more engines to add, I'll just there is a suggest engine form, and I will gladly add it. It's it's a cool little tool. It's something that I've been really passionate about. So
yeah,
I'll definitely make sure that Source Engine gets added to that tonight.
Yes, you were talking about Source Engine, and I was like, oh no, I forgot about Source Engine.
Yeah, as someone who is a creator of a site I also have a page that has a bunch of little links to people's things. If you're a creator out there, I'll save for my own plugs. Valerie, where can people find your stuff?
Oh, they can find me on itch.io too. The link is botticelli.itch.io. They can also find me just by my name, Valery Petrov. Yep. And Engine's database, very cool tool. It has a button random, which I really like, which I think is.
Well, that makes
it was the best feature right now.
Yeah, random engine, and then you have to use that for the next game jam.
Yeah. It's,
oh no.
Exactly.
Game jam,
that is but also a true nightmare. Imagine going in and be like, okay, close your eyes, and you're going to be handed an instrument.
Oh.
Good luck.
Yeah.
T, where can people find your games and the stuff you want them to see?
Yeah, everything. I have all my links on tmakes.games, which has my Twitter, Insta, Blue Sky, Itch, and co-host there.
Yeah, it's folks. It's great to have your own website.
Yeah. I also go ahead, go on my website, Andrew, and scroll all the way down, and then at the bottom it says friends. And the list here is randomized because I didn't want to prioritize.
Yes.
But I think you're in here. Yeah, there's Andrew. You're in as creates the Indiepocalypse.
Oh, I am in there. I am in a little friends
page.
Look at me. I'm a friend of the show. I'm a friend of the site. Yeah, that's it's such a I've talked about it on this before, but that's how I, when I was younger, found webcomics was through web link pages. People being like, these are other comics that I like, and that's how I discovered them.
Yeah, these are all cool people in here.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably look at that and look for because I am always going through and looking for
new people.
Yes, I want to.
You have a long list of people. I think somewhere you mentioned you have 5,000 games in your to play.
Oh my god! Yeah, my itch to playlist.
Yeah,
that thing is. Let me go to add a game to it right now and see how many it has. Have I added the new Indiepocalypse? Oh, I did add to the Indiepocalypse list. 7,624 games.
Oh no, it's even bigger now.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? I'm actually gonna start playing some of those. I mean, I have played some of them already, but that is basically a giant list of every game that I think is cool that I come across, and also everything that people I follow everyone that gets included in Indiepocalypse, and then based on their recommendations and things they add to collections, I also add that to that playlist as a way to Firefox doesn't show it anymore. I'd have to open up Chrome to tell you how many artists are in my folder that's labeled Bandcamp. it's probably like 1,000
Oh dear.
or something ridiculous.
But yeah, for my stuff, tmakes.games, and then
Yes.
all my games have little pixel art, and you can click on them. There will be a download button.
That's the other thing. You can make such cool little interfaces for all your stuff.
Oh, this one is way more minimal than my old site. I just wanted something that was more easily manageable. You probably know the horrors of, I mean, I don't know. Enrique also seems to be doing web stuff, so you know the horrors of managing a website when you have cool ideas and you implement a cool interface, and then you're like, oh no.
How I manage it is I have a friend who works in web design and he does it for me.
Oh, okay.
That's a good hack. Yeah. That's a really good life hack.
It is. It's the ultimate life hack.
I'm trying not to be that life hack for other people too much.
Yes. Because to be fair, I asked him like once, like 8 years ago or whatever. And now I don't ask.
He keeps managing it, or do you like manage adding new things to it?
No, I add the stuff, and then if I get something too complicated, I'll ask him.
Okay, new features go with
yeah. I'll ask him about something, and usually he'll just tell me what to do or like point me in the right direction, and then I will figure it out myself.
I mean, guess what? Originally, HTML and CSS were made to be as accessible as possible. Yeah, it's really like that is really simple. We just like but evil companies overcomplicated the internet.
Yeah, they did. They truly
make your own like static HTML plus CSS website. Simple. It's very simple.
That's originally what I did, too. But then I wanted fancy things where you could click on the different issue numbers and it would auto load the people who were in that issue and.
Yeah, building stuff by hands also.
Yeah,
I wanted to pain.
But a website that's just fucking text on a page, beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Text and links.
Yeah,
it's all you need.
Like brutalist website.
Yeah,
it's just like a maximum CSS, changing background color and text, and that's all. Like font, and you don't need more really.
Go out there and build your own giant concrete building of a website.
Do it. Yeah, you can even host it like for free on NeoCities. NeoCities is one of those HIO of websites where it's like free hosting, small size, so you don't have too big images.
Yeah, it's just
Co-host is also one of them, right? Co-host, I think it's it's getting a lot of traction.
Co-host is more of a blog, or it's a bit like Tumblr more. NeoCities is really you get a small web server. You can put your own HTML files in there.
It is as the name implies, a new version of GeoCities.
Yeah.
Oh, how I missed those.
GeoCities was like 90s, and then Yahoo bought it and ruined it. But
yeah.
Imagine just getting free web space and being able to do whatever you want with it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's the beauty of the web. It's you don't have to worry about. I mean, that's the problem is you always have to worry about. That's why you just get your own servers. You just live free. You live free.
Put it on your own Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, there's always. I mean, that's part of why I have my own website and sell things to my own website because you never know when things will get bought. Down. Right. You would think Bandcamp was forever the beautiful place for music, but now it's getting sketchy.
Let's hope it stays with us for a while.
Yeah, but
I mean, as far as I know, the owners of Itch are really, really cool about politics of their own site. And so I hope they stay that way.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm always hoping. But you never
can't
know.
trust. You shouldn't bet your life on it. Yeah.
I know you can't trust some other stranger on the internet, as nice as they may be, including me. Never. I mean, that's part of the reason I also want to have. I made like the little physical editions. I like the idea of these games existing just on USB sticks.
Yeah.
That just like
hey, Avery, the person who made the music bought one of those and was like showing me in video call probably. Hey, look, I have one edition with your game on a video cassette.
That is very cool.
It's very cute. You can put it on your shelf and.
Yeah, they have like little. I really like them. I think they're really. You can't see them on this screen right now. Let me go back to another screen that has them. On the live stream, like they're. If you're looking, they had that little spinning. Also, that little spinning thing.
Yeah.
That's not like a render or anything. That's just me spinning the cassette case.
Oh, really? And cropping it out in Photoshop or whatever.
Yeah, if you look really close on the top corner of it, you can see my fingers.
It's a bit red there, yeah.
Yeah, you can see me spinning it, and then I just cropped, and I just cut out the background. But yeah,
I mean that works.
Speaking of that, you can get those at indiepocalypse.com/tapes. You can purchase you can just do a mystery tape. You can request you can get a specific issue. You can get a random issue if you want to get a surprise tape. And you get a cool little select collection of indie games. You can trade them around. You can trade your tapes around, with your friends. Be like, hey, you just lend it like you would lend a friend a book.
Like Pokemon cards.
Right. Or lend your friend indie games that they never play in the same way you lend them a book they'll never read. But it's the same. Can normalize them as physical things within our world that you can touch. But yeah, support Indiepocalypse. I would think you should think it's a good thing to do. You can go to indiepocalypse.com. That is my aforementioned website that you can buy these things from. It's cheaper there. Just encourage people, hey, buy things on my site. It's nice. You can also get them all on itch. If you want, you can also get everything through Patreon. It's, Patreon's doing stuff too, I guess. I don't know what's going on with them. People are saying things. I don't know. They made a video.
Oh, the logo redesign that looks like a nugget. Is that the thing?
Yeah, that very classic. It's like it feels like a almost 2000s throwback of that weird blobby design or something. I don't know. It's a thing, but as long as they still allow people to pay me every month, it's all good by me. That's all I care about. But you can.
Oh yeah. Also, I want to make an ad thing for you. There is an Indiepocalypse Discord, and for I think $1 on Patreon, you get access.
Yes, you get access to it anyway. But there's also a secret. Oh. There's a secret channel that you can go to if you're a Patreon. Indiepocalypse Discord is very quiet. I like it that way.
Yeah, but Discord could be a way to get people to chat more.
Yeah,
and that's where a lot of lively communities are, because it's more interactive on Discord than on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I feel like I almost need to soft reboot it if I did that, because there's over 500 people in there, and I don't know how many of them are I don't know the vibe of the audience, So it's hard for me to be yeah. Cool, or it's very difficult to know what to do with it, but it's something I think about sometimes. There's so many channels you can see, the huge variety of channels from the last time I thought about it.
Yeah, but the perk of having a small quiet community is you don't have to manage it too much.
Yeah,
it does get a nightmare if it's a really active community. It can. Yeah.
So part of me wonders if I should just because I have channels there for contributors. So I would be what if I just had try to make the contributors more active, the contributor channels more active, and try to make those. But also I'm extremely busy.
You just moved something around, I think.
I did. I turned you into contributor.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's
I'll look around there some more.
It's also very quiet for someone who, despite hosting a 2-hour radio show, is antisocial adjacent. But I'm getting all sidetracked. But thank you for sidetracking me on something I should pay more attention to as a online creative organizer type.
You never know. Discord is also one of those things that could potentially shut down.
You're right, exactly. That's part of why I'm I am very into promoting the nebulous idea of Indiepocalypse. Of
on just as many channels as possible.
Right. Be aware of it. Talk about it with your friends. Just share it wherever you want to share it, whether that is on X.com or whether that is in your friend's kitchen when you tell it to them. It's all good. It's all the same to me. It all's good by me. If you want to join Indiepocalypse, you can go to indiepocalypse.com/submit. And it's not really that you join it, it's so much as you submit your game and then maybe it gets accepted. But I have a kind of, I don't want to say low bar or high bar, but I would say if you're used to traditional game festival style submissions, it's number one, it's free. It's also, I'm real loose with what I take in, you know. I have a more nebulous approach to what games are, and
can I ask, like, what type of stuff do you not take in?
things I don't like.
Okay.
It's hard to say. What, like, I don't really have like a strict rule for what I will not accept, you know. Unless it's like you have to have made it. I think that's my only real rule, is you have to have made the game. It has to be your game. Do I have a rule? Let me look to see if I have. This is one of those things that I also wrote 3 years ago and have not edited since. Because I'm like, why would I make it again when it works? These are all yes. I mean, basically I'm saying the game has to run, and probably don't make it in VR because I can't play VR games. I don't have a VR setup. But aside from that...
Oh yeah, it's also really hard as an indie to check if it works on different platforms, because buying one VR headset is difficult enough, but trying it out on different... No thanks.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's kind of like when I was talking about Henrique, the idea of a game that you feel nothing about is probably a game that I feel nothing about. Is the least like I want to see the human touch within the game, I guess. So games that feel devoid of humanity are maybe not what I'm looking for. But
yeah, sidetracked you again.
Yes. No, that's the whole point of the show. It's 2 hours, it's time to end, and then I just start talking to people. The original point I wanted to make of Patreon, if you pay $5, just $5 a month, or just $50 a year, which is the cost of like one AAA video game, you get the commission games for the year, not the full zine, but just the commission games, and that's... T, would you say that's a good deal for these games? As someone who has made one of those, I would say that's a great deal.
Yeah, definitely. What, $5 per month, or if it's annually 16? Let me calculate.
I think it's 50.
It's like $4 for a game.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and you help indie game scene.
Yeah.
A bit by throwing some bucks at like indie developers.
Yeah, these indie developers here. I mean, T and Henrique, you are. Basking in the glow of having recently been included in Indiepocalypse. So you're like, wow, this guy pays his money. But
I paid money for an indie game. It's amazing.
You are now going to you're fast becoming new members of the Indiepocalypse $6 club, which means in about 8 months from now, you'll get $6 from me.
That's nice.
And then in every 6 to 8 months, you'll be like, oh, Andrew sent me somewhere between $5 and $7 US, which turns into some amount of euros, less. But I
don't even know if you will be able to send money for me. Actually,
I might not be able to. There are some people I cannot. Yeah. I am not. PayPal doesn't let me send them money, but I'll let you know. I am still tracking the money I owe you.
Yeah, nice.
So
nice, it's nice to know that there's some some Americans there who owes me money.
That is, yes. It's a great. Well, let me look. Let me look, because I have that thing open.
A thing to brag.
No, I think you're up. You're good. You're paid out.
Am I in $6 club or not?
You know, as far as the last time I paid you, I was able to pay you.
Whoa, nice.
So, but your issue is currently sitting at $1.07 in royalties, which
okay,
because of fees. But so some amount of time from now, how many more issues is that? Is that like 4 issues? Yeah, and so basically, if people buy 4 more, it's like every 4 issues someone gets paid more, or every 5 issues or so, it's a payout, give or take.
So be sure to advertise like the zine you're in every once in a while.
Yeah. If you get a vibe, be like, I feel close. I feel like I'm close to getting $5. Go buy my copy, or buy my game individually for $5. You can do that too.
Probably ask my my family members to just buy a copy.
Yeah, I mean you could just as easily just go over to Labor Rights Funeral in Ukraine and just do a $5 donation on that.
Yeah.
It all works. But anyway, Indiepocalypse, we're shutting it down. I don't think I have any more links to talk about. I think these are all the links I have that my thing has by Indiepocalypse. I think it's cool. I'm going to be there's next 2 weeks, no show because...
Oh yeah, you'll be going to?
I'm going to be going to Providence, Rhode Island, which I go to every month, next week. And then I'm going to Toronto, Ontario, which I don't go to every month, which is a special occasion because I will be attending Canzine. So if you're like in Toronto, you're like, hey, I want to see that Indiepocalypse guy. What's he look like? Is he going to be wearing his Kaiji shirt? I probably will because it might be colder in Canada, and it's a cool shirt.
Well, you have to, so people recognize you.
Yeah, so then they're like, that's what he looks like? He just looks like a normal person. Disappointing.
Oh, you're not pixel art in real life.
No, I am not. I'm not actually this guy from Delicious in Dungeon. I'm a regular guy. Both of my eyes are usually open. I am neither that nor the guy with the shirt that says big asshole on it.
Wait, that is what your scribbly profile picture says? Big asshole?
Yes, it's because I was watching anime with a friend, and then I watched the rest of it without him, and then he drew a comic, and he wrote a show on it called The Big Asshole because I was the big asshole. Because I was watching it. Nor does my hair look like that anymore. It's longer. I did the thing where I grew it longer. And it vacillates between how I wear it is either to the side if I want to be a cool art guy or in the back if I want to be a heavy metal drummer. I think that is the 2 looks that it manages. But anyway, that's the show. We're closing it down. We're ending the show. Enrique Valeri T, thank you for joining me, everyone. Hello, thank you. I said everyone. I was going to say hello, but we're not starting the show again. We're ending it. Thank you.
Okay, have a good night or whatever.
Yes, everyone have a good
Everyone,
period of time
night.
that you're existing in currently.
Thanks for the chat.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for
having us.
Thank you for being in the show. Thank you for watching. I never thank the people who watch or listen to the show, but thanks to them too. I've talked about it before. It's someone at a live event recently. He was like, "Oh, I should check out all the shows," and I said, "I don't know if it's fun to listen to, but I sure do like doing it."
It's probably fine to have on a second monitor and play Minecraft doing it or whatever.
I love to make it, and I hope other people enjoy listening to it. As like you said, it's like a lot of the place where game developers don't like have that thing where like they're on each other's shows all the time because they don't really have shows. So I like to have give especially like indie game devs like a place to like chat and hang out, especially because
hey, look, even the Twitch chat has a couple names right now.
Yeah, look at that. Because one of the odds that all of us are ever going to be in the same physical space, I would say very low. Like,
well, if we ever come to Germany,
yeah, maybe I'll go to a maze one of these days.
Oh, a maze, yeah, I still have to.
Yeah,
attend that.
That's the thing. If I go to a maze, then you don't go to a maze.
Hey, if my game dev stuff goes well, I'll be putting that on my bucket list to exhibit at Maze at some point.
Yes, I want to figure this stuff out eventually. Who knows? Traveling the world is expensive. I'm not the. if events want to turn me into one of those indie dev speaker guys where you fly out to all your events to give speeches about Indiepocalypse or whatever and game dev, I'll do it in a heartbeat. Yeah, pay me to go to your events to chat. I'll gladly give keynote speeches about game dev, and I too can wear a jacket and look like inspiring or something.
In front of big red letters.
Yeah,
twice your size.
Yeah, and I'll have something like video games. Too many of them? I don't know.
That's your whole premise, the Indiepocalypse.
The premise is no, there's not too many video games. There never will be. There either always has been or never will be. One of the two. Anyway, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
I'm playing.
Bye.
Playing again that aforementioned outro song. It's that Imposter Syndrome song.
Oh yes,
I
good
love
song.
this song.
Woo!
If you're out there, listen to Sydney Kitchen No Dogs Allowed. It kicks ass. Goodbye.